Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats, the program will begin in about 1 minute. Thank you. No, it's... Good morning, and on behalf of the International Trade Center, welcome to the World Export Development Forum. My name is Jim Burba. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for the next day and a half. I've had the pleasure of working as a consultant with ITC over the past several months to engage private sector tourism experts as part of the research and ultimate development of this WEDF program. Over the next day and a half, we will be discussing the experiences and best practices in tourism development in the least developed countries of the world, and we'll also be focusing on some specific and potential projects. The sessions will be mostly conducted in English, although there will be translation into English, French, and Turkish, depending on the speaker, and the headsets are in front of you on the tables. After the presentations in each session, and time permitting, audience questions will be taken and indeed are encouraged. Staff will be in the room with handheld microphones for your questions. Now, we split this first session into two one-hour segments, and I'd now like to introduce you to our first four speakers. They are, to my immediate left, Mrs. Patricia Francis, Executive Director, ITC, His Excellency Ali Babacan, Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey, our gracious host over the next 2 days, Dr. Supachai Panich-Pakdi, Secretary General of UNCTAD, and Mr. Pascal Lamy, Director General of the UNTO. To get things started, I'm pleased to bring to the podium someone I've known and respected for quite some time now, since we first met in her home country of Jamaica. She did such a fantastic job in Jamaica that she was offered the position of Executive Director of ITC in 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming your conference chair and host, Ms. Patricia Francis. Patricia?
Thank you very much, Jim. And Pascal, we're very happy that you've joined the UN family totally now. But good morning, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister, honored guest ministers, very pleased to have you here in Istanbul, Turkey. I'm absolutely delighted that we have been able to all gather here this morning to talk about this very important topic, tourism. First, I'd like to thank our hosts for their incredible hospitality. And certainly it has been one of my great desires to be in Turkey. And so to have the opportunity to be here during the LDC conference is one of my dreams come true. But last year, September, we met in Chongqing, China, to look at new patterns of trade and the role of emerging countries as markets. The world was pulling out of a terrible crisis, and China had just become the second largest economy. Today we meet in Istanbul, And as we heard in the opening of the LDC conference, despite a decade of global attention, the state of LDCs has undeniably worsened since LDC 3. There are more LDCs now, and they are more impoverished. In our 2010 report, Market Access, Transparency, and Fairness in Global Trade, we reviewed the exports of 33 LDCs and found that on average, they retained only 14 cents in every $100 of exports, showing how little value was actually captured in these countries. We are clearly not doing the right thing, spending time on theory and rhetoric, and not enough on specifics, the pragmatic and more results-oriented action. We know market access is necessary but not sufficient, and while addressing macro issues may make it possible for LDC firms to be internationally competitive, it is business-specific capabilities to produce marketable products that makes it actually happen. The private sector, small and medium-sized enterprises, when competitive, will generate growth and create jobs. Attention, therefore, needs to be paid to microeconomic reforms, infrastructure development, and the building of support institutions, as well as policies that promote inclusive development, respect for the environment, as envisioned by the Aid for Trade initiative of the WTO. ITC provides trade-related technical assistance, and our key strategic objective is to increase the capacity of the private sector to take advantage of the global trading system. Our priorities are least developed countries, landlocked countries, small island developing states, and sub-Saharan Africa. And indeed, we spent 55% of our resources in 2010 in these countries. We believe that our work has to be, during LDC 4 and the WEDF, to seize the opportunity of having so many private and public sector partners supporting LDCs to explore, define, and commit to work. We began our thinking on WEDF by assessing the opportunity. Last year in Chongqing, there was consensus that trade and services was expanding, and that tourism in particular represented a viable entry for many developing countries. 30 of 35 trade diagnostic studies completed by LDCs saw the potential for tourism-led growth, and international arrivals in LDCs increased by an average of 11% per year between 1990 and 2009. Tourism is one of the top contributors to job creation and can be of direct benefit at the local level if a high percentage of the purchases are done locally and communities are engaged constructively. Preparing for the WEDF, we began to look at a staged process. Firstly, we held brainstorming sessions with CEOs and decision makers from multinational tourism countries interested in investing in LDCs to find out the barriers they faced while investing. This informed our decision, where we brought the public and private sector together in Nairobi to review project ideas and to define the broad scope of projects that would be feasible and market-oriented. We also looked at the expectations from project sponsors, the stakeholders, the market, the capacity of ITC to respond, trying to be honest about our limitations. And finally, we looked at areas where we could partner with others, such as the UN Women, UNCTAD, our supporting partner, UNWTO, and the private sector. And finally, we are here in Istanbul, and it is time for commitment. Over the next 2 days, we have plenary sessions to broaden the discussion. We also have 4 workshops to develop projects in a more comprehensive manner. with inputs from workshop attendees and potential partners. The projects are real, will require real action, and our commitment is to follow the project development process. The workshops cover engaging women vendors in the tourism value chain, managing tourism after a crisis, backward linkages for agriculture in the tourism supply chain, inclusive tourism through protection and promotion of cultural heritage and handicraft. Following WEDF, the projects will be further developed in-country and validated by local stakeholders with a view of producing bankable project documents and commitments from implementing partners. We will also produce a guide with UNWTO and the ILO on how to manage conflict and crisis, as well as a toolkit created by the Steering Committee for Tourism Development, which is made up of UNCTAD, the World Trade Organization, UNWTO, the ILO, UNDP, UNESCO, UNEP, and UNIDO. We will showcase this toolkit tomorrow at our final session. Additionally, we have involved the Enhanced Integrated Framework, SECO, Austrade, New Zealand Trade, and other development partners in project development process, so that our countries, once our countries submit their proposal, the funders will already be familiar with the proposals which are demand-led and interrogated by private sector practitioners. ITC's intention is to come out of the WEDF and the LDC4 with a concrete plan of action for 2012 and beyond, working with LDCs and partners to achieve export impact for good. We are showcasing good practice in project development, a challenge still for LDCs where available resources still remain underutilized, and hope that others will learn from our experience here. It is actually time for action. We look forward to reporting back to you tomorrow on our progress and to your active participation in this event. Welcome to WEDF. It is now my distinct pleasure to welcome to the podium the Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey, His Excellency Mr. Ali Babacan, to welcome you all and to showcase his country's remarkable transformation and the role that the services sector, in particular tourism, played in Turkey's development. Thank you very much.